Hello everyone, you're with me Nadia Nazir from tvsarawak.com. These are the headlines for today. SIOL Mountain Bike XC Challenge 2014. New mechanism to maximize impact of BRIM. Varsities fear lack of intake over new MUET requirements. Dewan Bandaraya Kuching Utara will hold SIOL Mountain Bike XC Challenge 2014 on 1st and 2nd November 2014. A media session was held at the Sarawak Islamic Complex in Kuching recently for the purpose of promoting the event. The media trial has been chaired by Datuk Bandar Kuching North, Datuk Abang Haji Abdul Wahab bin Haji Abang Julai, and according to him, the event was held for the 11th time this year, where the event will be an event of the greatest cycling competition in Malaysia, with the amount of the prize money up to 38,450 ringgit. The main objective of the tournament's advocacy is to foster lifestyles among the young counsellors in line with the government's call, and at the same time, DBKU is also eager to promote SIOL XC Mountain Bike Challenge 2014 as an icon in Sarawak, where it will be inserted into the hub of the calendar in years to come. Among the categories that will be contested this year is downhill, MTB XC Time Trail, MTB XC Cross Country and Team Relay. For those interested, registration and final briefing will be held on October 31st, 2014. That will begin at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Alamanda Room, Level 5, DBKU State Library, Sarawak Islamic Complex. For more information, please contact Puan Noraini or Puan Sharina Saleh Haji Karim at 082 446 688.
Because the team provide them better coverage, the team provide them better training program, suplemen makan. Karena kalau kita melihat selalu bila mereka mewakili negeri saja, the race will be always sukma, and some races. But then when it is organized in this format, jadi bermakna there will be a secure bermakna lepas Kuching ada satu kawasan lain, jadi they will have the chance to more or less menyertai perlombaan every now and then. Okay.
Moving on to Malaysian news. Finance Ministry Secretary General Tan Sri Dr. Muhammad Irwan Serigar Abdullah said that the government is looking at a new mechanism to maximize the impact of the Bantuan Rakyat Wan Malaysia BRIM, which includes a more evenly spread distribution, such as a monthly handout instead of a lump sum payment to recipients. He added the purpose was to deter unnecessary spending. He made the remark at a 2015 post-budget dialogue organised by the Malaysian Economic Association and the University of Malaya today. A few economists who spoke at the panel discussion said it defeated the purpose if recipients spent BRIM on luxury items. The government announced in the Budget 2015 last Friday that it would increase the BRIM to 950 ringgit from 650 ringgit previously for households with a total income of 3,000 ringgit and below. The cash handout will be dispersed at 300 ringgit each in January and May 2015, with the balance 350 ringgit in September. This marks the first change to the 3-year-old scheme, with the payment being made in 3 phases instead of a lump sum payment as previously. Local universities may face a drop in the number of students enrolling for several courses following the introduction of new entry requirements of the Malaysian University English Test, MUET. According to University Utara Malaysia UUM Vice Chancellor Professor Datuk Dr. Muhammad Mustafa Ishak, this was because the new entrance requirement, which comes into effect next year, would require students to attain a band 2 to 5 in WET, depending on the course of study. He said at present about 30% of students in local university achieved band 3, 4 and 5 in WET, while the remainder had band 1 and 2. He said the Education Ministry should conduct a detailed study on ways to produce students who are more proficient in English so that they could be accepted into local universities. Datuk Dr. Muhammad Mustafa said the use of English in mathematics and science subjects was good, as it would ensure students studied and mastered the language well. Last Friday, while tabling Budget 2015, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Najib Tun Razak announced that beginning next year, the general entry requirement into public institutes of higher learning, which required students to achieve a minimum level of band 1 in WET, would be raised so that students would be more confident and proficient in English. The new minimum entry requirement from WET for entry into arts and social science courses has been raised to band 2, graduation requirement fixed at band 3, science, technology, engineering and mathematics at band 3, graduation requirement at band 4, while band 4 has been fixed for law and medical students, graduation requirement of band 5. Malaysia will be ready to build rubberized roads in June next year, said Minister of Plantation, Industries and Commodities, Dato' Amar Douglas Ungah Embas. Dato' Ungah said some countries had undertaken research on the diverse uses of rubber, especially in the construction sector, and some of them have used natural rubber for road construction. He said this at a media briefing after officiating the 7th Association of Natural Rubber Producing Countries Annual Rubber Conference 2014, themed Sustaining Equitable NR Economy. He said Thailand, which has conducted trials, found that although the initial investment might be high, the maintenance costs would be low in the long run, adding that Thailand uses 3.3 tonnes of NR per kilometre for the construction of the road. Dato' Ungah said one of the immediate steps taken to support the NR industry was to replace some 50,000 hectares of rubber trees that were older than 20 years. The Domestic Trade, Cooperative and Consumerism Ministry has listed 14 items under the price control scheme for Deepavali tomorrow. Minister Hassan Malik said the scheme was implemented under the Price Control Act and Anti-Profiteering Act 2011 from October 18th to the 27th. He added that the enforcement of the price control scheme is to prevent profiteering and ensure adequate supply. Hassan said the maximum price for the items had been decided in 89 districts in the Peninsula, 32 districts in Sarawak, 27 districts in Sabah and 1 district in the Labuan Federal Territory. He said traders must sell the items at not more than the maximum price set and use pink price tags for them. Moving on to the global front. Workers in England's state-run National Health Service go on strike on Monday, October 13th, for the first time since 1982, following a government refusal to hike their pay. NHS staff, including nurses, ambulance crews and midwives, plan to stop working between 7 a.m. and 11 a.m. The move is intended to pile pressure on Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt, who rejected the recommendations of an independent panel for a 1% wage increase for all health service staff. Created in 1948 and paid for through taxation, the NHS provides universal healthcare free at the point of delivery. Among the unions taking industrial action, the Royal College of Midwives is going on strike for the first time in its 133-year existence. The 9 unions participating in the strike count more than 400,000 members of the English NHS 1.3 million staff, but not all of them will be staying away from work, the BBC said. Emergency services, notably, will continue, but unions are recommending patients defer their appointments. The strike comes 7 months ahead of the May 2015 general election, and the opposition Labour Party is putting the NHS at the heart of its campaign pitch. Prime Minister David Cameron has accused Labour of spreading complete and utter lies about their intentions. Dutch officials on Monday returned to the crash site of flight MH17 in eastern Ukraine, where the search for remains and belongings resumed despite sporadic exchanges of fire. 4 Dutch experts and local emergency services made a start on Monday, recovering personal belongings from the crash site of Malaysia Airlines MH17 last summer in East Ukraine, carting away boxes of personal possessions despite fighting nearby. According to Peter Jaap Albersberg, head of Dutch repatriation mission, the state emergency services managed to recover many personal belongings, 9 boxes of a cubic meter each, from the crash site. A short but intense exchange of artillery fire played out near the grassy fields, where the team collected items such as books, toothpaste, playing cards, a plastic watch and a stick of antiperspirant. Many items were too charred to identify. Dutch team might not be able to get to the site until spring because the cold weather makes it inaccessible. The United States must rethink its approach to controlling the Ebola virus after a Texas healthcare worker was infected with the often deadly virus, officials said Monday. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Director Tom Frieden, who expressed that U.S. has to rethink the way they approach Ebola infection control because even a single infection is unacceptable. Frieden also apologized for appearing to place the blame on a woman who fell ill when he cited a lapse of safety procedures, telling the reporters he felt awful upon learning of the case. Frieden said Sunday that a breach of protocol was the reason for the infection of the woman who cared for Liberian patient Thomas Eric Duncan when he fell ill in Dallas. Duncan was hospitalized September 28th and died of Ebola on Wednesday. The woman, whose identity has not been revealed by the CDC, developed a fever a couple of days later. She treated Duncan multiple times during his hospital stay and had extensive contact with him, but had worn extra safety gear according to CDC guidelines, officials have said. And that wraps up our news for today. I'm Nadia Nazir from tvsarawak.com. Have a pleasant day ahead.